Week 9 awards time. MDS joins us. Let's do it like we always do. We'll get right to it. Best Offensive Player of the Week, MDS, who do you have?
I have Davante Adams, who had 10 catches for 173 yards against the 49ers. Could have had more if the Packers hadn't taken their collective foot off the gas late in that game. And, he just couldn't be covered. And when he is playing at the level he's playing at and Aaron Rodgers is playing at the level he's at, I don't know that there's a better team in the NFC. I think they may be the best team in the NFC. They are a better team than I thought they were going to be this season. And Davante Adams, maybe the second biggest reason for that after Aaron Rodgers.
My choice, and Mike, I'm stealing your pick. You had him last week. I'm picking him this week. Dalvin Cook, the Vikings running back, had a career-high 206 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was fantastic in that game. And, Mike, as you've talked about, he has put himself firmly in the MVP conversation with the way he played. He leads the league now with 858 rushing yards, has a league-best 12 rushing touchdowns. He is rolling, and the Vikings are rolling because of Dalvin Cook.
His last 4 games, other than the one where he suffered the injury early in the third quarter with only 65 yards rushing when he exited, he's averaged 170 yards per game the last 4. If he could keep that average up, and that's a big if, he'll obliterate the single-season rushing record, so we'll see what Dalvin Cook does. But his odds for MVP have gone from plus 8,000 to plus 4,000, and I think by next week they'll be even lower than that. All right, for me, it's Josh Allen. He had an awesome day for the Buffalo Bills one day after his grandmother died. She died unexpectedly. He was very emotional. Sean McDermott, the coach of the Bills, gave him the option to not play. He chose to play. He played incredibly well. He's back onto the fringes of the MVP consideration, and the Bills knocked Russell Wilson out of the driver's seat, although he's still the favorite. He went from negative territory to plus territory in the betting odds. But Josh Allen and the Bills reestablishing themselves. I think they got knocked loopy by the Titans and then by the Chiefs, and it took them a couple of weeks to get their footing. Now their footing is back, and if they can build on what they did Sunday against the Seahawks, off they go, and they will be in the conversation for one of the best teams in the AFC. All right, best defensive player, MDS, who do you have?
I'm going to stick with the Bills and take A.J. Klein, the Bills linebacker, who had 5 tackles, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, 4 quarterback hits. He knocked down a pass. He was all over the place. And, I really like the way the Bills have built this roster. And it's moves like signing Klein for 3 years, $6 million a year, not the highest-end contract for a linebacker, but a good, solid contract for a good, solid player. I think that's how you build a winning roster, not breaking the bank for the top-of-the-line free agents. I think the Bills have done a great job, and A.J. Klein is a big part of what they're doing this year.
I thought this was the hardest category because there were tons of candidates we could have picked. And I went with the Pittsburgh Steelers simply because on Friday, Mike, we talked about what we couldn't wait to see, and I couldn't wait to see which Pittsburgh Steeler defender would be Defensive Player of the Week, and I think it was Minkah Fitzpatrick. He had an interception in the end zone. Dallas was at the Pittsburgh 5, and if they had scored there, they would have been up 26-15. Early in the fourth quarter, and it might have been over for the Pittsburgh Steelers in trying to stay undefeated. But he made that play, and then Dallas got down, obviously, for the last play, and Minkah Fitzpatrick was there in coverage on the very last play against CeeDee Lamb, and they gave him a pass breakup for it. I don't think the pass ever had a chance, but he was there in coverage and never gave him a chance to make that play. I thought he played terrific, and when he plays like that, with the way that defensive front plays, Pittsburgh is definitely the best defensive football.
I'm going to stay in that division and go to Baltimore. Chuck Clark had a moment for the Ravens. It was desperately needed. They were sluggish. They were sleepwalking. They were still dealing with, I think, the psychology of losing a game that they should have won the prior week, and they just weren't making it happen against the Colts. And I'm home this year, but I'm connected to the NBC viewing room, and Chris Sims was saying, man, the Ravens look awful today. They're not going to win. The Colts are running all over them, and then the ball was out, and Chuck Clark scooped it up, ran over Phillip Rivers on the way to the end zone, and that was the spark. That reset the game, turned it around, and opened the door for the Colts to lose to the Ravens and for the Ravens to get that loss to the Steelers out of their system. All right, best rookie for Week 9, MDS, who do you have?
Well, I probably took the obvious choice, but I have Tua Tagovailoa, who I didn't really like the Dolphins' decision a week earlier to go to Tua. I thought they should have stayed with Ryan Fitzpatrick while he was playing quite well, and I didn't think Tua played that well in winning the first game. He played very well in winning their second game against the Cardinals. I really liked how in command he was of the offense. He could make plays with his legs, with his arm. I won't be surprised if Tua takes the Dolphins to the playoffs. And when they first made that move, I really thought it was a decision that was basically announcing they don't see themselves as playoff contenders this year. So I liked everything I saw from Tua enough that I've kind of changed my outlook on this whole Dolphins season.
MDS, I'm going with a player in a losing cause, but I think this is the game that we were all waiting for Jerry Jeudy to have. He was terrific. It was his first 100-yard game. He had 7 catches, 125 yards, and a touchdown. And really, these last 2 games, I think we've started to see who this guy is. They've been his 2 best games back-to-back. And he and Drew Lock have found some timing, and I think he's caught up to maybe some of these other rookie receivers, and we're going to see him have a great second half to this season.
I thought about going with Jaguars rookie quarterback Jake Luton, but he'll have to settle for me just not calling him Luke Jayton anymore. He's earned Jake Luton, and the Jaguars have earned some respect for using 6th-round picks on quarterbacks who end up being halfway decent between Gardner Minshew last year and Jake Luton this year. But since they didn't win, sorry, Jake, you don't get Rookie of the Week. Shane Lemieux, the interior offensive lineman for the New York Giants, who was thrust into the starting lineup last week and did very well against the Buccaneers, brings in a nastiness, brings an edge that this Giants offensive line needs. And he's going to be one of the cornerstones to building the Giants into something better than they've been. And when they won the Super Bowl in 2011 and before that in 2007, what did they have? They had a great defensive line. They had a great offensive line. And it looks like Lemieux is going to work out. They need him to influence Andrew Thomas to maybe play with a little more of a mean streak. But you need that what Jim Mora, the younger, used to call dirtbag mentality. You need a little bit of that at the line of scrimmage when you're engaged in hand-to-hand combat to impose your will on the opposing defense. And Lemieux's got that, so he's my pick. All right, Coach of the Week, MDS, who do you have?
This will be a little unconventional, but I have Joe Judge. And I know the Giants are not exactly a great team here with Joe Judge leading the way, but I'm starting to see some progress, and I like the way they are playing. They beat Washington on Sunday. Over the last 4, they're 2-2, and the losses were by 1 point and 2 points. I mean, they're playing competitively each week. And I think Joe Judge kind of has them trending in the right direction. Obviously, the only way they make the playoffs is if the NFC East proves to be the worst division ever, and that may happen. But I like what Joe Judge has his players playing like. I think that they need another year for the talent to catch up, but they look like they're playing competitive football with Joe Judge as their coach.
MDS, I'm going unconventional too, because we sat here and said, oh my gosh, what are the Saints going to do against all these Buccaneers weapons? Well, defensive coordinator Dennis Allen, the Aggie great, had a plan, and the plan was great, and he is Tom Brady's kryptonite. 3 interceptions, 3 sacks. They own Tom Brady, and Dennis Allen did a fantastic job with that Saints defense.
I've got Raheem Morris, now 3-1 as the interim head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. The challenge is going to be doing enough over the balance of the season against some pretty tough opponents. The Buccaneers, twice. The Saints, twice. The Chiefs, the Raiders. Good luck with all of that, Falcons. But the challenge for guys like Rich McKay and Arthur Blank, pierce through whatever the final score is and ask yourself, is Raheem Morris the answer for this team going forward? It's entirely possible they just want a new direction altogether after the way the past few years have gone. But maybe their best play is going to be to keep Raheem Morris. And if nothing else, give him an opportunity. Give him a couple of years to see if he could be the right guy. Because if you let him go and he goes somewhere else and becomes a great head coach, you're going to wish that you had kept him around.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.